Welcome back, everyone, to the late night review. And just want to review a movie that I don't think ever really gets enough credit. It's a movie that I've always liked, even when I was a kid and I saw it for my first time. Halloween 3: Season of the Witch. I really like this movie a lot, and it doesn't nearly get as much credit. I think Tommy Lee Wallace did a great job directing. I think everyone involved. I believe John Carpenter did the screenplay. I think that the actors did a really good job. Everyone in here did a really good job. I think this movie's very iconic. As an artist, one of the reasons I love Halloween 3: Season of the Witch is I really appreciate how a movie looks. I can really appreciate the way it's shot, how the scenes look, the art direction. The masks in here, I think, are very creative. This movie, I saw it, I believe, on HBO or Cinemax as a very young kid, and that's how I saw Halloween 1 and 2 on. I think it was either HBO or Cinemax, probably HBO. I think one of my favorite memories is that old HBO opening with the neighborhood, and it's going down into the kind of model neighborhood with the buildings and the trees. It's just a model set at nighttime, and it goes down into the valley, and you see the trees, and it kind of goes up into the hills behind the houses, and then it goes into the stars, and then you have the HBO logo. I have a lot of nostalgia for that. So I believe, excuse me, I believe that I've seen Halloween 1 and 2, and possibly Halloween 3 that way too when I was a kid on one of the pay channels. This is always a movie that I've liked. It's not a movie that just grew on me and I liked it later. I've always liked it. But it also grew on me too. It's a movie that grew on me over the years to the point where not only did I like it and I thought it was one of the best movies in the Halloween franchise, but actually it's my number three. Halloween 3 to me is just that. It's ranked number 3 out of all the Halloween movies. Halloween 1 and 2. Usually I like part 1 a little better than part 2, but on a certain day I actually like part 2 better. Halloween 1 and 2 are always two movies that I always liked about the same. The music's almost the same except in part 2. It has more of a bass sound, and I actually think it's better in part 2. And that awesome opening with the Halloween, the pumpkin, and then the skull head inside, I think is awesome. So I like Halloween 2 a lot. Halloween 1 and 2. And then Halloween 3 is always my number 3. I really like this movie, and on certain days I actually want to see it more than any of the rest. But I love this movie. And part 4, Halloween 4, when it first came out, was actually my favorite Halloween movie. I was so pumped that he was back. I was so pumped that Michael Myers was back. I mean, he was burned in the hospital in part 2, and he comes back in part 4, the return of Michael Myers, leaving off from part 2. That's my favorite timeline in the Halloween franchise, by the way. 1, 2, and 4. My absolute favorite. I prefer that to the H2O and the Halloween 2018. But I do like those movies. I like H2O. I remember when H2O first came out, I really liked it a lot. And the ranking has dropped for me over the years. Halloween H2O has dropped for me over the years. I like Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. I actually like that too. But Halloween 3 is my number 3 of all the Halloween movies. 1, 2, 3, and 4 will probably always be my favorite. The original 1, 2, 3, and 4 Halloween films. Yeah, just to me, as an artist, I can really appreciate. Look at this. I love the poster. I have my Halloween 3 copy, Season of the Witch, right here. And it's called Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And I'm actually proud. I just want to say this. I'm proud that it's actually part of the Halloween franchise. If they would have called it Season of the Witch when it first came out, I think it would have been more successful, and it probably would have been a good idea. However, I'm very happy that this is part of the Halloween franchise. What they should have done, I think, when it first came out, What they should have done in the trailers, if I was in control of marketing, what I would have done is have a preview or a commercial that says Michael Myers is gone, but now a new threat has come, Halloween 3, and then make it clear that he's not in it. One of the big mistakes they made, I believe, is they did not make it clear that he was not in this film. If they would have made that clear, Michael Myers is dead, but now a new threat arises. If they would have done that in the trailers, I think it would have still been fine for them to call it Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. I think it would have worked if they made that abundantly clear in the posters and especially the trailers and the previews. I love Tom Atkins. I think he was perfect. I think he was perfect for the Doctor, and everyone in here does a good job. I like Tom Atkins in Maniac Cop, Night of the Creeps. He had a small role in Escape from New York. I only wish he was in there more. He's always been a very charming, very good actor, very likable, and I'm really happy that he's in here. This is one of my favorite movies, not only because of the fact that I like the style and I like the way it's done, but it also has so much iconic scenes in there. I mean, at the beginning, the guy's running with the Halloween mask, and you have that opening music, and you have in this movie, along with Halloween 1 and Halloween 2, influenced some of my art. If you are familiar with my channel, I do a lot of art videos. That was originally what my YouTube channel was supposed to be about, just showing my art. I never really wanted a YouTube channel, but I made it because I wanted more people to see my art. I thought it would be a shame if more people didn't. And then after I got involved with Redbubble, more people were watching or seeing my art on Redbubble than YouTube, and I actually thought about stopping YouTube, but I didn't because I thought one day maybe if I get more views, more people would see my art on both. You know, they can work together on YouTube and Redbubble.com. I'm glad I kept them both. I'm glad I continued YouTube because now more people are seeing my art on YouTube. I think at least most of the time, more than Redbubble, or it's kind of close. So now it's kind of working out. But my art with the buildings, the trees, the bushes, the street lights next to the, illuminating the leaves at night, some of the pillars, some of the dark, was kind of influenced in a way by Halloween 3, that opening scene where he's running under the freeway underpass. That's one of the reasons I like to put that overpass. I like to put certain structures with the cement, the freeways, the pillars and the street lights and the trees in my art is partially because of Halloween 3. And then also Halloween 1, that opening scene in the hospital courtyard where they're dressed in the hospital gowns. It's raining. And since when do they let him wander around? And then Loomis says, go on to the main gate. Go on, move. That scene with the rain and everything, if you see some of my art, you'll know that it was probably influenced a little bit by Halloween 1 and 3, and a little bit from part 2 with the lights and the way the lighting was, and maybe some of the shadows and the bushes, especially the tree at the beginning of Halloween 2 with the Mr. Sandman music, which I love. But yeah, I'm kind of going off with the art thing, but ancient Greece, ancient Rome was a big influence on a lot of my art. But I have to say I was in the Nightmare on Elm Street also a big influence with that neighborhood. But I have to say that, like the street light here, you'll see that in some of my art. So I really appreciate this movie for how it looks, the art direction, the design of the masks, and the way that the scenes are put together, the way it's edited. And I think particularly this scene here where you see their silhouette. I do a lot of silhouette work in my paintings, and I really appreciate that and the way the witch looked. My only complaint is I wish they would have had kind of a witch character in here and expanded on that. But it's a great movie to me. A lot of people don't like it because I think they kind of look at it just on the surface. They kind of look at it from what it is and what it represents just on the surface. But I think a lot of Halloween fans like myself, we kind of look below the surface. We kind of look at the atmosphere, and we can kind of understand it. It's almost like you have to be tuned in to really think that this movie is a great movie. I understand why people don't like it. Michael Myers isn't in it, but I think if they would have made that clear that he wasn't, it would have been much more successful. Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. Michael Myers is gone, but now a new threat arises. I think that would have worked if they would have made it abundantly clear in their trailers. And I think that it wouldn't have been a disappointment. I think it would have been much better received. But yeah, this movie is, I think it's well done, well acted. I think Cochran, I think that character is very interesting and how he explains about Samhain, and he explains that Tom Atkins' character, he explains to the doctor, played by Tom Atkins, when he has him strapped up, and he explains what Halloween to him means, what Halloween to him really means, and why he's doing this. And it's basically a huge sacrifice of all these kids that are going to take place on Halloween, a really evil plan. So the Tom Atkins character has to break out and try to stop it. Most people have seen it. Most people know the ending. Uh, I still won't give it away, but and I think Connell Cochran, who was played by Dan O'Herlihy, I believe it's O'Herlihy. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I looked it up, but I'm just, for some reason, I'm drawing a blank real quick. But Dan O'Herlihy, I think he played Connell Cochran, and he did a really good job. I remember him in RoboCop, and he was also in a few other movies that I'd seen him in. And he's always a good actor, that guy. And this is a good performance. I think he plays the part of the bad guy, Cochran, really well. And that whole devious plan that he has, they have Stonehenge trying to tap into that ancient power that it has, according to the movie, and how they put a little piece of Stonehenge in the little emblem, the little trademark that each mask has, so it can be activated on Halloween during the big giveaway at 9, and then that's what's supposed to cause the tragedy and the sacrifice of anyone who's wearing the mask. Yeah, I think it's a really, really interesting movie. I think the robot angle worked. I think it was added to the fun. At first, the hospital scene at the beginning, at first they're kind of stiff and wooden, and you wonder what they're doing. They look like hitmen dressed up in suits. The robots that are trying to kill the guy with the mask, and then they follow him to the hospital. A little similar to Halloween too, but I like it. I always like hospital scenes, hospital settings for scary movies. And I think it works in Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 really, really well. And just summing it all up here, it is one of my favorite movies. I think it's deeper than a lot of people think. I think under the surface, and then when you look at the way the music is, I love the music in here, by the way. Halloween is a franchise that's always had good music, especially the first 4 films, and a couple of the others too. I'm glad that the newer ones used and utilized the older music. I think that made them better movies. John Carpenter in an interview talked about how music can really help a movie. And not only has John Carpenter directed really good movies, proving himself to be one of the great directors of all time, but he's also a great composer. He's a great creator when it comes to both film and music. I love his music. They Live, that theme song, his movies are really iconic. And I think Tommy Lee Wallace really carried the torch really well in Halloween Part 3. And I think it's iconic. The cinematography by Dean Cundey, I think, is just awesome. And I think the cinematography is done in such a way where I personally, as an artist, have been influenced by this movie a lot. I think the way it looks in certain scenes is just, it's something that those who understand the atmosphere of Halloween and the kind of the zeitgeist of the franchise can really appreciate. And Halloween 3, I mean, like it or hate it, it's something worth talking about, and it's one of my favorites. This has been the Late Night Review. I recommend this movie if you haven't seen it, but go in with low expectations because it might not be your taste, but it's my taste. I think it looks good. I think it looks iconic. It's a fun movie, and but go in with low expectations. Even though I like it, you might not, but I recommend it quite a bit. And until next time, everybody, like and subscribe, by the way. Have a good night. This has been the Late Night Review. Goodbye.